Hello, hello, I'm Kads, and welcome back to the free-to-play review. It is once again time to dive into another summon pool, in this case, the High Elves summon pool. So featuring a bunch of champions, legendaries, and epics, well maybe a few legendaries and a bunch of epics from the High Elves faction. The main hook for this particular one is that they have the second faction unity champion, specifically for the High Elves in the game, and quickly through her kit, A1 attacks one enemy, has 50% chance of increasing the cooldown of random skill on the target by 2 turns. They seem to really like this type of ability, this in the inverse. They've come out on a lot of champions recently. And then when she counterattacks, she can team up with a random ally. The A2, she can place block debuffs, block damage, and counterattack on a target ally. It can also be herself if AI dictates it so. And then it will also reset the cooldown of all the target's skills. So a little bit of White Dryad Nia as far as a single target ability goes. Then here, AoE, increase attack, increase crit rate, and increase crit damage on all allies for 2 turns. If you have 1 extra high elf on the team, this will grant an extra turn, meaning that she can go back into the A2 or go into the A2. If there are 2 high elves on the team alongside her, then before placing the buff, she will do a full cleanse, which is pretty neat. And then if there are a full team or 4 total high elves on the team, then buffs placed by the skill cannot be removed, meaning they'll be protected. In addition to that, on the passive here, whenever a buff is placed on an ally, it fills their turn meter by 3%. So anytime that she places a buff, it's just a built-in turn meter fill, which is great. Bad for like Torments or whatever, but it is nonetheless still great overall. If with one ally, allies deal 25% more damage when attacking out of their turn, meaning that if they take advantage of her counterattack buff, they will deal more damage. If there are 2 high elves on the team with her, then whenever a buff is removed or stolen or expires, it will fill the turn meter by 10%. So again, more turn meter fill. And then if it's a full team of 4 high elves, then all allies will ignore 15% of the target's defense for each buff on them. So while I do think that she is a pretty solid champion in her own right, I don't think that most people or most Krakens or whales are really going to be whaling out here to buy the fragments to pull her in particular. And then when it comes to the rest of the pool, I think most people who spend money on the game already have these champions. Elenaril, of course, one of my most wanted champions. We'll get to that in a second. Tatura Rhymehyde, a previous fusion, and then Lysandra, formerly the Queen of Speed, but she's been surpassed by a handful of champions in the modern day. When it comes to epics, Neldor would probably be the crown jewel because he is one of the most influential champions for hard mode Fire Knight, but honorable mentions to the likes of Royguard, really good in a lot of areas. Enemy max HP champion Tyrell can be a pretty solid debuffer for like faction wars or early on if you happen to pull him. And then there are 2 Lady Mikage epics if you guys are like me still working on getting them with and Dahlia, and then Elesinia, I think. So when it comes to this particular iteration of the summon pool, we have a Prism Shard that is essentially a Sacred Shard, 1-to-1 ratio, 6% chance of a legendary, 94% chance of an epic. They only cost 25 per summon, which is pretty nice. It's on the cheaper side. And then there were 2 sources, in this case, the Sand Devil Tournament and the Artifact Enhancement event. Now this is typically the part where I state that this type of event or this style of event with the Sand Devil Tournament in the mix is typically not free to play friendly, low spender friendly, because it's costly in terms of energy to spend energy in the Sand Devil, which is relatively speaking an endgame dungeon, an endgame luxury dungeon, dare I say. And so it's just harder for those to do, particularly in the middle of a ridiculous fusion going on right now. So that might be not be the best investment for people's or majority of people's energy. The Artifact Enhancement kind of hit or miss depending on whether or not you have enough silver, but it wouldn't have gotten you, assuming you were at 0, you wouldn't have even gotten a summon because that only gave you 20. The Sand Devil gave you 40, grand total of 60, meaning you could earn up to 2 summons. All of that is still very much true, but as you might have noticed up here, we do have 80 prism fragments here. In my particular case, in this particular instance, there's an Elenaril on the table, so I wanted to invest in that possibility, not with money, but with a ton of energy. So I had 20 left over from the previous summon pool event, and then I managed to get all 60 over the course of today. So we can actually go take a look at both of those events. So the Artifact Enhancement event, you can see just a silver dump more or less, and we got all the way out to 6,500. And you can tell that we did that because we have less than 200,000 silver right now. So very dire moments right now. So we're gonna have to earn a lot of silver between now and the next artifact enhancement if we want to complete the fusion. But I did also max out the Sand Devil Turn Attack Tournament. This is the first time I've actually ever participated in any of these types of events. Like I said, there is a chance for Elenaril, and I wanted to go with that. So how did I do this while still being free to play? One of the biggest things that came in clutch was the clan shop. 1,000 energy for the week, so I spent all 1,000 of that energy on my Sand Devil runs, so that was a good chunk. That was about half of the points. And then today was kind of a dead day in the fusion calendar, and so there wasn't anything to spend energy on. Dungeon Diver starts again tomorrow, and I'll probably go like into Spider or something, but there's no dungeon tournaments going on right now. I guess Ice Golem is going on right now, but since we had to finish Dungeon Divers yesterday or last night for me, I maxed out Ice Golem very quickly to finish that Divers, and then I did a little bit of Spider as well just to get some silver preemptively because I knew I had to spend some today for artifact enhancement. But the main takeaway there is that I did spend all of the clan shop energy, and then I just spent the rest of like the daily accrual energy with time, and then all the login type energy. And then I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the fusion, but I do still always have massive stockpiles of energy here in my inbox, so I used a couple of refills that were kind of near expiring as well to kind of top it off near the end. So lots of energy was invested in this purpose, and so we have the opportunity, 3 opportunities to get myself a legendary, potentially Elenaril. So let's see if all of that hard work is actually going to pay off. Granted, there is only a 6% chance that we get a legendary at all, I guess 3 times because we do have 3 summons, but if all else fails, just getting one of the 2 Lady Mikage epics that I mentioned earlier would be pretty nice because again, I'd like to make some progress towards Lady Mikage. So let's dive right in. Prism Shard numero uno, going to be an epic, and it is Skuramis, which is unfortunate. He might, no, he's not new, but he is kind of cool, honestly. He does have this ability here, which is a placing a provoke, meaning it's affinity friendly, counterattack on himself for 2 turns, and then when he counterattacks with the A1, he has a chance to stun the targets, I guess for 30% chance if he depletes turn meter by the if he fully depletes turn meter with the skill, which he will because he has a 90% chance of stealing 50% turn meter, and that's after they deplete their turn meter by taking a turn, hitting him with the counterattack. And so pretty good odds of stealing the turn meter, and then a little bit of chance a chance to stun. And then here he has a AoE decrease attack, and then he can also decrease the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn. So pretty strong champion, probably good for Hydra, probably good for faction wars and stuff like that. Prism Shard number 2. Is it gold? Oh, it is gold, and it is Fina, Blade of Aravia. That is not the legendary we were looking for. Unfortunately, that is hella CVC points. That's another reason why I waited until today to make this video, because I wanted CVC to be live. Oh man, that was almost super exciting. Well, we already went through her kit, so there's not much to say there. I don't really have much of a use for her, but hey, we got a faction unity champion, so I guess we can't really complain all that much. And let's just see, last chance here. We're gonna have to summon this regardless back to the epics, and it is a duplicate Royal Guard. So almost a super exciting evening. Darn, 1 in 4 chance that it could have been Elenaril. I think that was worth it. I mean, I guess I walked away with, I lost a good amount of silver, in fairness, going that little extra mile from like the 4775 to the 6500. But, there was a 1 in 4 chance of that being Elenaril, and, I think that was worth it in the end. Plus, I did get a bunch of, like, chaos dust or powder or whatever you get from the Sand Devil on top of a ton of oils and whatnot, so I can roll up a lot of gear if I really choose to do so. Well, there you have it. That's going to do it for today's video. We invested a ton of energy for a chance at Elenaril, and we were rewarded with, instead, the Faction Unity Legendary Champion, who is relatively good, but somewhat underpowered relative to the faction that she is in. So I don't know if I'm really going to get to use her or want to use her. Let me know, guys, if in the comment section down below, would you guys use her? Would you build her out? Let me know what you guys would do in my stead. I will say, though, that I feel like I've been on a fairly lucky streak lately, getting a bunch of legendaries in the past couple of weeks. So I do want to acknowledge that, in fairness. And this is also the first legendary I've ever pulled from a summon pool. So there you go. Silver lining. We can focus on that instead of the missing Elenaril. Let me know if you guys were also participating in this particular summon pool and what you got from your Prism Shards, if you pulled any. As always, if you did find this video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button down below. And if you enjoyed the video, then be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching and have a good one.